Good morning and welcome to our God Hour main course for September 24th. Continuing our study of the book of Matthew. If this were a channel about me, I would recount the events of this morning, but I shouldn't. Therefore, I won't. So let's just jump in. And verse 1. Then spake Jesus to the multitude and to his disciples, saying, You have to apologize. I'll have to apologize. Ambient noise. I can't find a quiet space this morning. But spake Jesus to the multitude and to his disciples, saying, The scribes and the Pharisees sit in Moses' seat. All therefore whatsoever they bid you observe, that observe and do. But do not ye after their works, for they say and do not. For they bind heavy burdens grievous to be borne, and lay them on men's shoulders, but they themselves will not move them with one of their fingers. And what I can see, interpret here, do as they say, but not as they do. A common phrase that we hear from day to day.
Rob,
Morning.
what's going on?
Pardon that. Custom of mine. On my work. Only proper to stop and say good morning and chat for a second. In any case, where were we? Do as they say, not as they do. But they'll tell people to do something, yet they will not lift a finger. No, they will not move them with one of their fingers. They will not lift a finger. What I'm seeing is a timeless quality in these words of Jesus himself. The words written in red. I'm reading from the King James Version, as is my wont. I have to throw that in every morning. But hey, morning's already starting to feel more positive. That's the joy of starting the day with reading a little bit from the book. Well, let's keep going with verse 5. But all their works they do for to be seen of men. They make broad their phylacteries and enlarge the borders of their garments. Now, I did pre-read this chapter, and it's worth noting there's a lot of phrases in here that are not often understood or able to be defined by common man. Let's take phylactery, for example. It's defined by the OED, the AD, Oxford American Dictionary, as a small leather box containing Hebrew text on vellum, which is a kind of paper, except it's made out of hide leather. It's very high quality paper, you could say. It's not made of, papyrus or trees or anything like that. It's more like leather than paper. Anyway, this phylactery was worn by Jewish men at morning prayer as a reminder to keep the law. So that's what a phylactery is. So they make broad their phylacteries and enlarge the borders of their garments. In other words, they eat too much. They're prone to excess. I guess would be a good way of summarizing that. Verse 6, and love the uppermost rooms at peace and the chief seats in the synagogues. They like to be in the VIP rooms, eat the best food, where the common men are not allowed to come. Verse 7, and greetings in the markets, and to be called of men, Rabbi, which, if you don't know, means teacher in Hebrew. But be not ye called Rabbi, for one is your master, even Christ. Meaning is even Christ has a master. And all ye are brethren. Call no man your father upon the earth, for one is your Father, which is in heaven. Now, that's got to be something due to translation, because you are supposed to honor your father and your mother, and I would imagine you are supposed to call your father, but I'm guessing is a translation into English. Call your dad father or dad or whatever you refer to your earthly father as, but no random man. But I'm guessing that it translates into some authority figure that has authority over children. Which is kind of interesting, because here in our Protestant and Catholic Christianity, we call pastors father a lot of times. Maybe more so in Catholicism. I'm not a Catholic. I don't know a lot about Catholicism, but I do see it on TV and so on, that they go into the confession booth and say, bless me, Father, for I sin. But maybe that means they are talking to the Heavenly Father. I don't know. I invite comment on that. And call no man Father on your earth, for one is your Father which is in heaven. Neither be ye called masters, for one is your master, even Christ. But he that is greatest among you shall be your servant. And whosoever shall exalt himself shall be abased. And he that shall humble himself shall be exalted. The last part's easily understood. Humility will gain you a lot. It's what exalted is. It'll be lifted up. But whosoever shall exalt himself shall be abased. So you don't want to be abased. Verse 13. But woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you shut up the kingdom of heaven against men. For ye neither go in yourselves, neither suffer ye them that are entering to go in. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for ye devour widows' houses, and for a pretense make long prayer. Therefore ye shall receive the greater damnation. All of this stuff, this is the great denunciation. It's the caption of this portion of the Bible has been labeled. Okay, well, let's do a little examination of some terminology here. Scribes is not a difficult one. Scribes are people that write for a living and copy documents, make copies of the holy text and so on. And scribes in the biblical sense are almost always religious people, priests and so on, or servants to the priest, because the ability to read and write was traditionally something only the church did, or I should say holy men did. For that matter, probably as far as Judaism is concerned, only the tribe of Levi. But Pharisees, that's a more trickier term. And I realize that's redundant, more trickier. But Pharisees and Sadducees, I need a little short about that. But Pharisees and Sadducees were religious, religious and legal, because it was one and the same at a long time, for a long time in history. The Pharisees were I'm trying to find a good way to explain it. Let's just read that definition. The Pharisees were a popular devout group focused on oral and written law, whereas the Sadducees were similar, but they represented the elite. Pharisees represented the common people. Sadducees, including the chief priests, represented the elite. And both were part of the Sanhedrin, which in itself is the supreme Jewish council and court of law. And I could deviate and go into a lot about that, but just trying to get those terms laid out so we can move on. Verse 13, we talked about 15 is where we are at. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for ye compass sea and land to make one proselyte. And when he is made, ye make him twofold more the child of hell than yourselves. Jesus was on fire that day. A proselyte is someone that's converted faith from one to another. So by compassing sea and land, Jesus is saying you go as far as you can to make one proselyte. Maybe he's exaggerating or using hyperbole. But the point is, like, you spend all your effort and time and energy just to make one proselyte, and when he is made, you make him a child of hell. You're converting people to go to hell. You're teaching them how to go to hell. And that's what they need to do. So not only are you sending yourselves to hell, but you're also guiding children to hell, which is just despicable. And I could get into my political views about how a lot of this is going on today, and I don't want to, but you can probably infer a lot of what I'm thinking of. Because, like it or not, our freedom of speech is not absolute. Verse 16, woe unto you, ye blind guides, which say, whosoever shall swear by the temple, it is nothing, but whosoever shall swear by the gold of the temple, he is a debtor. Ye fools and blind, for whether is greater, the gold or the temple that sanctifieth the gold? And you can see what he's saying there. It's all well and good that a temple be made of gold. It's, after all, the house of God. But it being gold doesn't make it any better than a temple made of a couple of tree limbs laid together. I used to attend church in a camper trailer, for example, and it was actually one of the most holier churches I've attended. That, the feeling that the Holy Spirit was there more than in some of these mega churches that I've visited in the past. So don't swear by the gold of the temple. Verse 17, ye fools and blind. I think I already did this, but whether is greater, the gold or the temple that sanctifieth the gold? Verse 18, and whosoever shall swear by the altar, it is nothing, but whosoever sweareth by the gift that is on it, he is guilty. See, it's not, you don't buy your way into heaven, in other words. And if you use that as your excuse to go to heaven, to justify or to think that your offerings earn you the right to go to heaven, then you're guilty. I mean, you're very cringy, I guess is how Jesus might put it today. But ye fools and blind, for whether is greater, the gift or the altar that sanctifieth the gift? Verse 20. Whoso therefore shall swear by the altar sweareth by it, and by all things thereon. And whoso shall swear by the temple sweareth by it, and by him that dwelleth therein. And he that shall swear by heaven sweareth by the throne of God, and by him that sitteth thereon. I mean, the language is kind of tricky. I'll give it that. But when Jesus is referring, if you're swearing by the altar, then that's right. Sweareth by it. You say, shall swear by the altar, sweareth by it. He's affirming that that's the way it should be. Swear by the altar, swear by the temple, swear by him that dwelleth in the temple, which is God, and swear by heaven, swear by the throne of God, and by him that sitteth thereon. Well, who sits on the throne of God? That's a rhetorical question. If it were not the throne of God, it would not be called the throne of God. Verse 23. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! For ye pay tithe of mint and anise and cumin, and have omitted the weightier matters of the law, judgment, mercy, and faith. These ought ye to have done, and not to leave the other undone. Ye blind guides, which strain at a gnat and swallow a camel. I love the wordplay like that. But he's further reiterating that you pay these tithes, of these rare spices, these valuable spices, but don't have omitted the more important matters of the law, which is we're talking about government and religion, where the law meant both. But judgment, mercy, and faith, these ought you to have done, but also not to leave the other undone. You paid your tithes, that's all well and good, but also, and more importantly, you didn't do these things that you should have done. 24, about the straining at a gnat and swallowing a camel. It's almost humorous. So, with that, I'll leave you to interpret that metaphor on your own. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you make clean the outside of the cup and of the platter, but within they are full of extortion and excess. That's another good metaphor there. Thou blind Pharisee, cleanse first that which is within the cup and platter, that the outside of them may be clean also. Look inside first. Take care of your own, and then start, cleaning up others. In other words, as he literally said, you're a hypocrite, telling others they're doing wrong, and you must be punished. Meanwhile, they're doing the exact same thing, if not worse, and feeling no remorse over it. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for ye are like unto whited sepulchres. And that word could probably use another definition. So let's just a small room or monument cut in rock or built of stone in which a dead person is laid or buried. Okay, I couldn't have explained it so concisely. Where was I? Which indeed appear beautiful outward, but are within full of dead men's bones and of uncleanness. Even so ye also outwardly appear righteous unto men, but within ye are full of hypocrisy and iniquity. Like I was saying earlier about, telling people that they are wrong and presenting themselves as good people, and inwardly their thoughts and in privacy their actions are despicable. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, because you build the tombs of the other prophets and garnish the sepulchres of the righteous, and say, if we had been in the days of our fathers, we would not have been partakers with them in the blood of the prophets. Wherefore ye be witnesses unto yourselves that ye are the children of them which killed the prophets. Fill ye up then the measure of your fathers, ye serpent, ye generation of vipers. How can ye escape the damnation of hell? You can only imagine the emotion Jesus is feeling, the anger, the fire in him as he is just, you could sense the blood boiling in him at this point. Verse 34, wherefore, behold, I send unto you prophets and and wise men and scribes, and some of them you shall kill and crucify, and some of them shall ye scourge in your synagogues, and persecute them from city to city, that upon you may come all the righteous blood shed upon the earth, from the blood of righteous Abel unto the blood of Zechariah, son of Barachias, probably is the way to say it, whom ye slew between the temple and the altar. Of course, Abel, that would be the son of Adam and Eve, who was slain by his brother Cain. If you're not familiar with one of the very first stories in the Bible. Now, honestly, I don't know much about Zacharias, son of Barachias, but he was clearly slain between the temple and the altar. Verily I say unto you, all these things shall come upon this generation. O Jerusalem, Jerusalem, thou that killest the prophets, and stonest them which are sent unto thee, how often would I have gathered thy children together, even as a hen gathereth her chickens under her wings, and ye would not. Behold, your house is left unto you desolate. For I say unto you, ye shall not see me henceforth till ye shall say, Blessed is he that cometh in the name of the Lord. And I've mentioned before, we started Matthew. It's kind of a mild, very beautiful, very passive, easygoing Jesus, but now he's getting ready to lay it down. Not threatening with the carrot, but threatening with the stick. It may not make a lot of sense, threatening with a carrot, but not using the carrot, but threatening with the stick. You get my point, I'm sure. Anyway, that's going to wrap up our God Hour for this morning. Matthew 23, so Matthew 24 tomorrow, capturing the destruction of the temple. It's time to get my day going. God bless you all. Be seeing you soon. And have a good day.